to you joining us for season 2, episode 8 of A Measure of Marketing, where we're talking about how you can find your ideal client.
Yes, I feel like we're very calm today, Hayley. We normally start
I
these
feel, yeah,
a
either
little bit yeah,
hysterically laughing
yeah.
or really angry or cross about something and want to moan,
That
whereas
was like
this
the
feels quite serene.
yeah, Serene. This is the calmest intro I think we've done so far.
I think it is, yeah,
That's very
yeah.
cool of us.
Yes.
Our ideal client, right? I find that this is a tricky one. This is a tricky one in my brain. I think business owners find this tricky as well. Um, there is that classic task of like writing out who your ideal client is, like a customer persona almost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel like that makes it even more confusing for people.
Mm.
Like you can write down typically who you want to work with, but sometimes people don't fit into that box.
You may not know it if you're starting out, and even a couple of years down the line, you still may not know it, even though you should.
Yeah.
But at least figuring out what your ideal client looks like is a good starting point. And personas is a great way of doing it. And I think, we've done an episode, I think, on this before, season 1, maybe. We've
Yeah.
done one on personas.
Mhm.
Yeah, without knowing who it is that you're trying to attract or who you're trying to find, obviously it's a uphill struggle. So
Mhm.
I think there's lots of techniques and there's different approaches that you can take because in a way it's not necessarily about you, in my opinion, about you finding your ideal client. It's almost about attracting
Yeah.
the right client that you want. And there's ways of doing that by using the right language.
Mhm.
So, for example, we talk a lot about problems because you've mentioned this in previous episodes. And for me, it's talking the same language of, okay, well, we've got this problem that you need to solve. What are the risks if you don't invest in our service or in our business to help you? So you're almost giving them that FOMO or that if you didn't have our membership or if you didn't have our subscription or if you didn't work with us, this is what will happen.
Mm. And I think for me, like when I probably find this hard because like personally find it hard sometimes as well,
Mm.
because there's that classic like do you niche or do you not niche? Like as a
Mm.
marketer, you, to only do marketing in the sports industry, for example, it just closes off a load of people, doesn't it? Like
Mhm.
out of the frame. And I don't niche, you don't niche either, do you? So I think, yeah, like work it, but I see the common themes throughout a lot of different
Mm.
people and a lot of different industries. But then I find that I will talk to the problem in my content, and
Mm.
you can't really identify the problem when you're speaking to people or
Mhm.
like discovery calls or things like that, the way that we work with clients before they come on board or you help them in whatever way. But then it goes so much deeper than that for me, that it goes down to, and this might just be from a marketing perspective. There's obviously lots of different services and industries out there with the audience listening. But it goes much deeper then in terms of, are people like willing to invest in their business? Are they willing to learn, put the work in, and things like that? So there's that like ideal client when you've got a problem, but almost like your ideal client who has got all of the like characteristics as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, there's the client that you are either there to help and you've got
Yeah.
that persona and you've got that understanding of who that is. But then, yeah, if I think about my clients, I have some that are just chef's kiss. They are exactly the
Yeah.
ones that I want to work with. And it's finding the way of hooking those in, because it's more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And that's ideally what you want. But Yeah, I get you that it does go deeper, and I think it's looking at your marketing activities and the content and the communications that you produce, and working in who it is that you work with, even if you're
Yeah,
not necessarily working with them already, into that. So whether it be a social post or I recently did X, Y, and Z for so and so in the so and so industry, or in a blog post of more recently, I have supported this type of client because they needed that. If you don't get
yeah,
that in, you're not allowing your ideal client to picture themselves in that position of your current clients to go, oh, yeah, she's what I need because she's already doing it for someone like us or our
for
competitors.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that rings true as well with the the problem, like referencing the problem, doesn't it? Where people can be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, me too. Like, is it I
Yeah.
feel like that or I need that? Um, I honestly do think like finding your ideal client comes from just speaking to more people and listening to people and being so curious about people. Like, I think you can feel like you need when you've just started a business, and I felt like this in my first year, like, oh, I need to work this out. But the process of trying different types of content, testing your message, and
Mm,
going to different networking events and asking open questions and yeah, doing all of that bit is the research into what content you're putting out there. It's that like constant like
yeah.
checking through. And then
Yeah.
I'd say like 3 years down the line, I've only just really got to a point where I'm like, oh, I know exactly who
Yeah.
my chef's kiss ideal client is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they don't have, if I can see this within them, then I know that they're going to be this chef's kiss.
Yeah.
But if not,
Yeah.
then I've got this for them instead, like,
Exactly.
or yeah,
I was similar. It took me about 4 years. And then that's at that point, it took another year for me to kind of to revamp my marketing strategy and my branding and redo my website.
yeah,
Um, yeah, for me, it's to find that chef's kiss, it's almost you have to talk their language. So you're
yeah,
almost trying to, and it all comes back to building relationships. And you can have marketing automation and ChatGPT and everything to kind of make things easier. But if you're not talking their language, building a relationship and giving them that perception, but more so that understanding that you know where they're coming from, that you're
mm,
talking their language, you know their problems, and you can help them and get being on their level, you're not going to attract them because they're not going to be able to position themselves in the same way.
yeah,
But that, as you say, takes time. And you start off and you may think you know what it is, but it's only from going to, I would say, yeah, community events or networking with other people and actually having some clients to go, well, that was great. I enjoyed that. But actually, you're not my ideal client, but you were really nearly there. And then you start to
mm,
hone it and then you
yeah,
know. And whether that's a niche with a particular audience or not, or a particular market, um, that's up to you. But yeah, I don't think you know straight away. I
uh,
think anyone that says, "Oh, I know exactly who my ideal client is," no, I, 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 unless you've got a real product that really fills a gap in a market for a particular problem,
yeah,
um, it takes time.
yeah. Like, yeah, if it's product related, gender related, like, my head went straight to eyebrow products for some reason. I'm like, that's
Okay,
super specific. But
give an example because people may, as in eyebrow
oh,
gel
so
or
yeah,
eyebrow.
like I used to be obsessed with eyebrows.
Okay.
Yeah, eyebrow products. Like, the laminated gel eyebrow product that you can get.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like that for me is so super specific because females typically of a certain age, they might watch certain pieces of content, but like then the need for a very like done eyebrow do you know, like it just gets like you go super, super specific into the person almost. Does that make sense? I'm looking at
Yeah. No, I'm trying to think of whether it's something they need or something they want based on the problem that they have. So they don't necessarily have a problem, but it's a way of looking a certain way. Hence you have
yeah,
the eyebrow gel. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
The problem could be like crazy, crazy eyebrows that need taming.
Crazy. Whereas mine were tamed a lot in the 90s and I have to draw them in now. So
Mine were tamed, then outgrown, and now go crazy. So yeah.
how have they grown back? Mine have, I know we're on a tangent. Mine have not grown back. I'm even thinking of like semi-permanent tattooing to like get them put in because, and that's
Really?
all my Insta feed is showing me now because I like hit one ad to have a look at it. But yeah, mine have not grown back. So for me, the eyebrow gel would not be my ideal product. But let's go back. So why did this come about?
But that's interesting though, because we are of similar age as well,
Mhm.
isn't it? That's
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
But it comes down to another part of the person, need,
Yeah.
want, etc.
Yeah.
Um, just coming back to the point, I get asked a lot from businesses who have, and I'm the same here, where you do one thing, but you
Mhm.
serve two different types of people
Mhm.
um, through a different type of service. So, like I do marketing, for example, I'll work with bigger businesses and do more consultation, but then I've got a service space for solo entrepreneurs
Mhm.
who probably can't afford the or don't need the bigger consultancy stuff. So
Mhm.
a lot of people have a similar setup with their services and they will say, well, how do I talk to both groups of people
Yeah.
through my strategy, through my marketing?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts there?
Um, I don't know. I was thinking about a client who has a similar problem that almost has three different markets, and we're honing in on the primary market, which has a particular target audience, and that's who we're trying to speak to. But it's really hard when, unless you're using paid ads, for example, LinkedIn or Insta, you almost have to have a blanket approach
Mm,
to finding the right audience so that you cover, oh, it's for X, Y, and Z, but then you almost tailor the call to action for your target audience, which
yeah.
then would be your lead to your ideal client. Um, yeah, I think that's quite tricky, and I think you need someone quite savvy to be able to do that. If you're trying to do that on your own, that's when you can confuse your audience.
Mm,
Um, but then you might have different channels and different ways of speaking to them.
yeah. Like for my solo entrepreneur offer, I only use my Instagram account is purely for that.
Yeah.
Um, but then LinkedIn is more um top level like marketing conversation. And then within it, I'll weave in examples of working on a consultancy level or with
Hmm.
entrepreneurs because
Hmm.
those people are on that space. And then I'm quite specific about networking spaces I go to. So I'll show up in this
Yeah.
or I'll show up in this way, depending on who's there.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, you just have to like pause more and be like, what am I doing here? What am I doing there? And keep a bit of a line
Yeah.
between the two.
So you're almost doing the marketing model, the STP of segmenting, targeting, and positioning based on the different channels of the sort of people that you're trying to attract.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the way in which I work and my my way of working, my like beliefs, my thoughts are the same for both, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Purely
Yeah.
just the service and how I work
Yeah.
within, well, how much people pay and what that service looks like.
Yeah.
That is
And
different.
so what's your ideal client out of those?
Yeah, that's
Ooh,
yeah.
ooh, go
But
on.
my ideal client, it comes down to I would probably say no to some certain industries, but it really comes down to um, because we would meet them and have a conversation with them before any of our services were taken on. It comes down to like their communication style, their openness to like take the directive, also like their willingness to invest in their business,
Mm.
their like response rate and things like that. It comes back down to almost a bit like yeah, like their way of working, culture, character almost.
Yeah.
Mm. Where, yeah, I don't think I've ever been like, no, this is a not working, we're not going to work together scenario. But there's definitely times when maybe like a contractor's not progressed to like the phase two or something. And I've been like, yeah, I can see
Hmm.
why that is. And I'm okay with that
Mm.
because there was these points that probably didn't fill my ideal client checklist there.
You tick box. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just a difference in way of working, difference in, yeah, like,
Yeah.
um, and
Yeah.
loads of deep stuff, I'm sure.
I think that's the thing where we say it takes time to figure it out. You may know who your primary market is, so the industry and who you're trying to reach, and your target audience of who the people are that are actually buying what you produce or offer. In terms of service. But in terms of that ideal client, you almost have to go through a few to know exactly what it is that fulfills you with working them as well. So I suppose
Mhm.
the term ideal client isn't necessarily one that's used in a marketing strategy or necessarily used in, um, I suppose, a marketing plan, but it's used more so, I think, if you were doing the persona work or if you were using the um maybe if you were working with a sales team or a sales consultant, because then it
Yeah.
would just hone it a little bit more. But I think if you are a small business owner, either if you're working on your own or if you've got a small team, I think to really boost you when you're self-employed, having those ideal clients just make it really worthwhile, more so than, yeah,
Yeah,
for me
absolutely.
anyway.
Yeah. And I think I would start like if I was like building maybe not a marketing strategy, but just like putting everything down on paper.
Mm,
I would always go back to the what have I got on offer? What am I delivering here? What gap does that fill for said whoever person? And then what does that gap look like for them? Like, what is that problem for them?
yeah,
What is the benefit of bringing me on board
yeah,
to work with that person in whatever industry capacity it is?
yeah.
Um, like you can't go wrong there because people are buying based on their own need and needing something solving, help, time, money is normally the main things. And as long as you know the typical problems that you're solving, you're going to find that within your typical ideal client,
Mm,
aren't you? Um, and then you work from that point of knowing the problem, knowing you've got the solution, and then your content's created around that. And then as
and
you
the
go
language.
down the line, you can start to bring in the um, I worked with this person from this industry who does this, whose business looks like this,
Yeah,
and then
yeah. Then
build.
you're savvy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I would start. Well, that's where I did start, really.
Mm, yeah.
I think that's the most important
Mm.
as well, because when you are meeting people as well, like I was at a networking event at the, what month are we in? It was last month, but it was a little bit of networking, eating some croissants, and then we sat down and it was a challenge, as in like the the guys who own the network event are really cool, but they were like, right, shout out all of your challenges, like hands up, what is your business challenge? And I was like, oh yeah, this is a good session because it's complete customer insight now. Like you
Mm.
can hear the problems that everyone's got in business in general, and marketing was on the list, social media was on the list. And I was like, of course it is. Because
Mm.
all my people, my ideal clients, have them. I know what their problems are. And I was like, hey, now they're in the room. So, and then we went into solutions after, and I was like, that's like a great. I was like, me, I
I'm just thinking of you just standing up, just going like this, like in the
know.
middle of this networking
Yeah.
room.
Do
I
you know
can
when you're
help you.
dying to be like, I can help?
Me,
And I had to be
me.
like, really, like, wait, about it. But anyway, that was just a great scenario of like, if you could be in a room full of people and just be like, what are your problems relating to like, my business? Um,
Mm,
that's like a great networking setup when you get to
yeah,
a room and they have them sort of
yeah,
conversations.
yeah,
Yeah, super helpful. But again, like the themes are the same. They come through the same all the time. You'll find, I think, over the years, unless something crazy happens and changes in the world.
yeah,
Yeah, I came in, for example,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
marketing changed. But
Mm. I think
customer,
it's helpful. I think it's helpful to at least think about your ideal client because it takes it that further step, doesn't it? It's less about target audience. And if you really care about what you're doing, finding that ideal client so it's fulfilling for you, if you're a small business, I think is really important. Um,
yeah, and
yeah,
it's great. I think you've said this already, but it's like it's great when you're listening and you're listening and you're doing the work, and then like you start to work with them, and you're like, yes, like
yeah,
this is great, and like now I can help them, and it's made a difference, and then you get more in, and then you get one that doesn't fit, and you're like, that's made me even more certain that this is my ideal client.
yeah. But that's not what I want. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And I think if you're an agency or if you're a small team with a service or whether you even have a product that you're trying to sell in, I think it's just it's almost making it more personable, and I think that's where the small business kind of industry really takes a step up is that people want to work with small businesses for that personable service and for it to feel that it is personable. So when you do find the right one that clicks, no matter what you offer, then for them it's just going to feel all the more
yeah,
special is the wrong word, but that's, as well as budget, that's why they want to work with you rather than going to a bigger organization or
sure. It flows, doesn't it? Just like
yeah,
it's flowy and good.
yeah,
Uh,
flowy.
flowy. And often, like you kind of make a bit of a friend, like new businessy friend out of it, and then they'll tell people about you, and like yeah, and then
Yeah, it all does flow. Yeah, it's fluid. Referrals and such.
fluid and
Mm,
flowy.
mm, let's go
Nice.
with it. Like your eyebrows.
Honestly, that obsession was real, like for many years. It's because I used to work at Boots though, and like
Number seven, clear gel.
it's just like so when it all started, the big like bushy eyebrow thing was when I was working at Boots, and you just had access to all these products. So
It
good
is a
time.
thing now, isn't it? To almost shape them up and out. If
Mm.
anyone's wondering, that's the younger generation's vibe. Yeah, it's not mine. I don't have enough. But there you are.
That's a gap in the market, like a grow your eyebrows back if you were a 80s child.
What, as in like you can buy a little pack, like growing your own chrysanthemum and you can grow your own eyebrows or something like a bonsai tree. Don't clip it, it goes the other way. You're actually building them out. I think there's actually therapies and treatments that you can have done by beauticians and specialists rather than just buying a pack online off an Insta ad. But
Buy some eyebrows. Honestly, though, the paid ad situation, if we're going back to ideal clients, they have got something right for sure. Like, well, I'm not sure actually if it's right or not, but I, I get the right ads for me, definitely.
after a while, I just think, how much have I looked at this to now be just seeing all of this in my feed?
Yeah.
Um, and we've shared a few of the things that we're both seeing,
Yeah.
and yeah, from the beauty side of Insta.
Yes, that take absolutely ages to get delivered. But anyways, we
Mm.
digress again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
We hope that that's been helpful to you listening and the insight into our 90s upbringing and teen strife, and now the trouble
We
we have
don't
in our
follow the
40s.
perfect example of do not follow the trend because all damage will be done.
This is what happens in 30 odd years' time.
Your
Yeah.
whole personal brand is based on a thin eyebrow.
What, mine?
Anyway,
Ah, okay.
thank you to everybody who's listening. Please give us a like, subscribe, and a follow, and all of that stuff. And yeah, if you're following through LinkedIn, please leave us a comment as well. Any topics, questions that you have, we'll be able to answer them in some very quick little episodes if we ever manage to do that. And we'll see you in the next episode.
See you on the next one. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.